Hi, boys and girls. Do you know what time it is? It's time to make a clock. I have this clock that hangs in my house, and I can look at it and figure out that it is 10:45. It's heading toward 11 o'clock. But what does all that mean, and how do we learn how to read a clock? What you are going to need for this craft is a plain old white paper plate, colored paper plate, does not matter what you use. And the two templates that go along with this craft is one that looks like this with the numbers of a clock from 12, 1, 2, all the way back to 12, and arrow hands, pair of scissors, a glue stick, and something called a brad. This is what a brad looks like. It looks like a flat tack from the top, but when you turn it over, it actually has two prongs that can open and close. And I'm going to show you how to use a brad to make your clock. Are you ready? Let's go. So I've cut out my clock face template, and I also cut out the hour hand and the minute hand. Now you can see that Mrs. C actually labeled each one of these. This is a choice you can make. As you're beginning to learn time, it might be helpful to remind yourself that the short hand or the small arrow is the hour hand, and the longer arrow is our minute hand. What you're going to do is take your glue stick, and you are going to glue the back of your clock face template. And you're going to place that template in the center of your paper plate, like so. The next step is to make sure that your two arrows, your minute hand and your hour hand, are lined up at the end. Okay, so you can see how one is much longer than the other, but they're both touching. They're both the same right here. And you can either take a paper clip, you can use a little pin, but the idea is that you want to get a little hole to go directly through both the minute and the hour hand. And you're going to do the same thing to your clock face template. This red dot is the center of your clock face. So I'm going to take a pin, I'm going to stick it through. Maybe I might widen it a little bit. I might have to, and you might need a parent to help you, depending on how thick your plate is. So now I have a hole here, and I have one hole through both of the hands. This is where you're going to take your brad, and I'm going to stick it through both of the arrows, or the minute and hour hand, and then I'm also going to take it and push it through my paper plate, like that. And this is how a brad works. I pushed it through, and remember those two prongs I showed you? I can push them apart, push one down on one side and the other down on this side, and that secures your clock hands. Now you can see by using a brad, I am able to completely move the hands on my clock. I can move them together and I can move them independently. And that's how you're going to use your hands when we begin to tell time. Another option, when you're feeling a little more comfortable with the concept of telling time, is to print out this template. These are all the minutes. So what happens, boys and girls, is I cut this template out, and that was the first one that I put on the plate. As you can see, it's behind here. I glued it right on. And then I took my other template and I glued just this part, and I cut slits. So So what happens here, boys and girls, is this is a little more advanced. You'll notice I also didn't label my hands hour and minute hand. So what we're going to use for our Tuesday Zoom is this version. There are no slits and there's nothing underneath. And we're going to use our hour hand, which points to what o'clock it is, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, while our minute hand circles and tells us how many minutes are past that hour. This one is when you get more comfortable and you're feeling ready for the challenge. You can make another plate using this. That goes first. Then the red with the slits, and you can see for example, if I want to say that it is 2:15, my hour hand is pointing to the 2, but my minute hand is pointing to the 4. And if I lift that flap up, it's revealing 20. Because when we really get into the telling time concept, each one of these spaces between the numbers is 1 minute. So from the 12 to the 1 is 5 minutes. 12 to the 2, 10 minutes. 12 to the 3, 15 minutes. 12 to the 4, 20 minutes. They are in 5-minute intervals or increments. And we know that when we count by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, that's the pattern a clock will follow. Again, that's for later. This is for our Tuesday Zoom. The red face template and our hour and minute hand attached with a brad to a paper clip. Join us on Tuesday at 1 o'clock and we'll tell you how to tell time. Bye-bye.